Hello, and welcome to Linkarati Live. This is our second webinar from Linkarati. It's an all things link building community. I'm Jesse Stoller, and I'm your moderator today. This, as I said, Linkarati is a community for all things link building. Every week we feature several articles talking about the latest news in link building, talking about the best practices in link building, just things you need to know so you can be the best link builder you can be, and to understand exactly what's going on in the world of not only link building, but the SEO community and the internet marketing community at large. It's very important to stay in tune with what's going on in the world if you want to be as efficient a link builder as possible. So with this webinar, we're doing something a little bit different than what we did last time. Last time we did about 30 minutes of a formal presentation to start off with, and then we finished off the webinar doing question and answers from the audience. Well, I think most people would agree that the second half was the most engaging part of the last webinar. So we decided to, buck the trend, the trend we set with one webinar, and to just go with the full question and answer format instead. Just take audience questions the entire time, and I hope that we have a very lively discussion. So to answer your questions, we've assembled 4 of the brightest minds that work for both Linkarati and our parent company, Page One Power. So let's go ahead. That's me, Jesse Stoller. I'm a staff writer for Linkarati. Our first panelist that we have for the webinar today, we have Cory Collins. He is the content marketing manager here at Page One Power, and he is the editor-in-chief for Linkarati. Cory, how are you doing today?
Good. How are you, Jesse?
I'm doing all right. Let's move on to our next panelist. All right, we have Nicholas Chimonas here. He is the director of product development. That's his formal title, but he's really just sort of like a utility belt here at Page One Power. He's just a jack of all trades. So how's it going, Nick?
Great, Jesse. Thanks for having me. That was a very flattering introduction.
You're welcome. Yeah. All right. Cody Cahill is our next panelist. He is one of the project managers here at Page One Power. We have several different teams that work on link building, and Cody is in charge of one of those teams. And it's his birthday today. How are you doing today, Cody?
Doing well, Jesse. Thanks for having me.
Good, and happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
And then last but not least, he's my fellow staff writer on Linkarati. Please welcome Andrew Dennis. How are you doing today?
Good, Jesse. Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Yeah, well, thanks for all 4 of you for being here. This is going to be a great discussion. I just want to point out that the first questions that we had that we're going to answer for you are questions that we've already accepted. We had a form out so people could submit their questions a couple weeks in advance. Yeah, we really would love to answer all of your questions if we possibly can today. If we don't get to your wonderful question today, someone will get back to you with an answer. But let's get started with the first question. This is a little bit condensed from the original form that we accepted it in, so I'll just give a little background. The gentleman that submitted this question, he has a client that has a great backlink portfolio. He said it might need a little bit of cleanup. What profile doesn't these days? But it's been around for about 7 years. His competitor had just came around about a year and a half ago or so, and this newer competitor is outranking his clients for sort of the money keywords. But at this submitter's insistence, this newer competitor is using some spammy tactics as a way to outrank his clients. We've seen spammy link tactics still work in the short term. So the question that we have from our first responder, Google's ranking algorithms have become so sophisticated and smart over the years, yet black hat SEO tactics still seem to be rewarded in the short term. How is this possible? Wouldn't you think that by now spammy link building tactics would be DOA? And I think I'm going to shoot this one over to Nick first.
I'll jump on this grenade.
Yeah.
I was going to volunteer.
Yeah, I kind of figured you would be.
Point me out. Well, I think that we're all very presumptuous to say that Google's ranking algorithms have become so sophisticated, so smart. Yes, they've advanced a lot. Yes, Penguin and Panda have been really progressing forward at exponential rates, but black hat stuff still works. And, if you just read into the jargon, if you just read the industry news, oh, this is bad, whatever, you'll definitely believe that it doesn't work because it's so demonized. But if you really look into the Black Hat forums, if you read what they're doing, if you do your own testing yourself, that's what you should rely on. You should know that Black Hat SEO is still effective. And in the short term and the long term, that's what happens. And when you're working with an aged domain, like this guy's client, that can mean a lot of things. Your domain can be held back by Penguin, whereas this new domain that is just having this Black Hat stuff that hasn't been caught onto yet can very easily rank, whereas your domain is old and has been detected for some time now as being spammy from old bad SEO you did in the past. That's going to hold you back. So it's really hard to just look at this micro granular level of, oh, this newer site with spammy SEO is outranking my old site that has good SEO now. Well, it's been old, it's been around for a long time, which kind of increases your chances of doing something wrong. At some point, especially with older sites, there's a lot of panda issues, or they've done bad link building in the past, and there are a lot of detected bad links. Now Penguin's holding you back, or maybe there's a manual penalty. This is this guy's client. He's a digital marketing guy, so there's probably not manual penalty, but there could be Panda, there could be Penguin. There's so many factors in play. And you're looking at this, just straight the backlink portfolio of the other client, or the other competitor, I should say. That competitor, there could be some 301 domains in there, especially if there is Black Hat stuff going on. There could be things going on behind the scenes when you really dig into it. There's so much levels of complexity there. So yes, hopefully Google's anti-spam algorithms catches up to this competitor, but you have to look at your own site. You need to focus on what your site's doing, where you can improve to try to beat out those competitors, because you don't know what they've disavowed, for example. Perhaps your competitor with all these spammy links, they're still in the backlink portfolio. Maybe they were disavowed a long time ago, and they're not actually affecting their portfolio health at all because they've already been taken care of, and they have other good stuff you're not seeing, maybe through a 301, like I said. So there's just so much going on that you can't say that spammy link building tactics are dead in the water. They're still out there. Black hats are continually doing things in more advanced ways and reverse engineering what's happening. It doesn't just go away because Google updated their spam algorithms. You have to be conscientious of more so what your site is doing for the long term, so that hopefully you can beat out those spammy tactics in the long term, and try not to focus so much on how your competition seems to be winning with spam.
Cody, yeah,
I completely agree with what Nick said there. I just add that if when you're trying to measure yourself up against the competition, yes, looking at their backlinks is something that I would look at as an important factor in why somebody might be outranking you. But I'd take a closer look at their website and the user experience that their website's providing. And is their content good? Is it adding value to the demographic and that kind of thing? The answer is often in why is, this site outranking my site? The answer often isn't in the backlink portfolio. It can be, but often it's more, on your page and what kind of user experience you're providing. And as we've seen here at Page One Power, it's not uncommon for a client to come in with, they think their website is great and their backlink portfolio is healthy and their competition's website stinks and they have the spammy backlink portfolios. But really, when we analyze it, we see that there's a lot more nuance there and it doesn't quite fit into this kind of good, bad checklist categories.
Yep, I think that's all very good. If I could ask a follow-up question that I'm sort of curious about, just from what your answer, Nick, talking about the effectiveness of Black Hat SEO. Rand Fishkin, in an inbound conversation that I think you started even, maybe about 2 or 3 months ago or so, in response to Eric Ward, was talking about, the amount of people that have actually made a lot of money off of Black Hat SEO is probably overstated. Do you think that's actually true? Or I think his exact words were retire on the beach money.
Oh, right, yeah. The number of Black Hat SEOs that have made retire on the beach money is far exaggerated.
Yeah.
It's probably much more minuscule. I mean, that's probably true to an extent. I mean, in any industry, I've not gotten rich myself off of Black Hat SEO, or I'd be retired at age 25. But,
right.
I mean, I'm sure there are people that have made plenty of money with their payday loan rank on page one for payday loan scams that got them tons of leads, and you can rank there for a month and you make lots of money, and that happens. And I think the most successful Black Hats never stop. If you look at Jacob King, if you really want to look at an illustrious Black Hat that does it the right way, so to speak, as in he's reverse engineering things, he's testing things himself, brilliant in its own regard. Jacob King never stops, and that's what it is. It's not about just getting rich and ending everything. It's a lifestyle, really. They're fighting Google in order to manipulate it, and it's a brilliant piece of work that they're doing. But it never ends. Black Hat SEO never ends. Just like any SEO, it goes on and on forever.
So here's a point that I'd like to make about the comparison between so-called black hat link building and white hat organic link building, which is what Page One Power specialized in. And the difference there is that black hat link building it doesn't serve a larger marketing purpose outside of trying to manipulate the search rankings, and it's risky behavior. It might work for a while, but at some point the algorithm may catch up with you. And if your search marketing strategy is all about trying to stay one step ahead of the algorithm or chasing the algorithm all the time, you're maybe not getting the most out of your marketing efforts. And the difference is that white hat link building, that it serves marketing purposes, greater good for the company, for your brand, beyond simply the organic search rankings. Yes, that's a major part of why people want link building, but true white hat organic natural link building meets many more objectives than simply trying to improve your rankings in organic search.
Right. And so when your only objective is search marketing for the purpose of manipulating search engines to rank for a highly competitive keyword, head term, that is going to drive a lot of traffic, drive a lot of conversions, it's usually an affiliate marketing ploy or something like that to make some money quickly, but it just keeps building. So are you focusing on the short term? Or are you focusing on the long term? And that's the very distinct difference between black hat SEO and white hat SEO.
Yeah.
Well, and look at how much black hat SEO has dropped off in just the last few years since Penguin has released. It's clear where Google's going and that they're getting better, more sophisticated, more algorithmic all the time. And so I think that any real dive into black hat SEO, you can't do it for a real business. You can't do it for a real brand, because in the end you'll get caught and you'll be punished.
Yeah, too risky if you've got a real legitimate brand. It's just too risky to put all of your eggs in one basket. And as many people have found out the hard way, once you get caught up in one of these algorithmic penalties, like one of these penguins or something, it is really, really hard to get out of that doghouse. And the processes for getting getting recovered, so to speak, is long and difficult.
Mm-hmm. To circle back to the original question really quickly, I just wanted to add that recently in a Google Webmaster Hangout, John Mueller was asked a question from a webmaster about 301ing an old spammy domain to a competitor, specifically with the goal to tank his rankings and get him an algorithmic punishment. And John Mueller was very specific in saying that Google has systems in place to monitor and catch that and stop it from happening. So I think that to say, why aren't these spammy competitors getting nuked out immediately, I think it takes time, and I think it takes consistency, because if Google really has a strong impact on the web, and if they just start doing massive damage to any brand that looks slightly suspicious or any website that has suspicious activities, too much collateral damage would happen. And I think that could be spoken to a little bit as well as what's happening in this situation.
I agree. So we spent quite a bit of time on that question. Great answers, guys. Let's move on to the next one, though. Our next question, this is another question we had before the webinar. What are a few tips for obtaining low-hanging fruit links using Majestic SEO or a similar tool? Cody, let's go with you on that one.
Well, I'm not sure exactly what the attendee means by low-hanging fruit links, but I'll take a stab here that those are the types of links that maybe your competitors are already on, and sites that have maybe like resource list or links list pages that other very similar sites are already listed on, and so the barrier to entry to get that link maybe is lower than a higher value target that might take more of a relationship building approach. And I think that competitive analysis is a great way to start there, and that can mean by taking a a good close look at the full backlink reports of your specific competitors and see what types of sites they're getting listed on, see what type of content on their site is drawing links. And then seeing in ways that you can either recreate content to put on your site that would fit in on those links list pages, or just taking existing content that you already have and finding the appropriate places based on competitive analysis. We use those Majestic, Moz, and those tools every day, all day, to be assessing, prospecting for link opportunities. So there's a couple ideas. Maybe you have some more, Nick?
Yeah, to piggyback on that, on the competitive analysis side of things, there's a really good new feature in the Moz Analytics suite called the Link Intersect tool,
Wow.
where you just run your competitors through and your site, and it'll tell you all the sites where your competitors are being linked to and you're not. And that's immediately probably a very relevant place you should try to get a link to. Majestic has a really similar feature called the Click Hunter, but you can't put in your domain and find out exactly where you're not linked. You just run your competitors' domains. It tells you what websites are linking to multiple competitors, 2 or more. Of course, there's BuzzSumo. I think I talk about BuzzSumo every single webinar I join, but it's amazing for finding content that's been very successful. I know Andrew Dennis wrote a piece about using SEMrush specifically, I think with tandem with BuzzSumo and with Moz to do kind of a similar thing.
Yeah, I think that was kind of finding the common keywords that you had through SEMrush with competitors, or finding your competitors, and then with the common keywords tool, and then looking up kind of influential people within that company, like people that produce content for that company on BuzzSumo, and seeing what kind of content they've written that's popular on social media, and kind of getting some content ideas that way for your own use.
Yeah, and the whole point there is that you found something that your audience has already liked in the past, and you make something better and outreach to those
people. You can find
right?
content gaps that way, like maybe outdated content that your competitor produced that was really popular but is outdated now. You could update that and be something that your audience would really enjoy.
Yeah, I think isn't that referred to as the skyscraper technique?
I believe, yeah.
Brian Dean of Backlinko had kind of coined it as the skyscraper technique. I mean, it's always been a thing, like find something that people liked and make something better. But he coined it as the skyscraper technique, and he has a really good blog post that goes really in depth about it. But yeah, I mean, low-hanging fruit links. That's an interesting question, because obviously the easiest links to get are the least valuable, and the hardest links to get are the most valuable.
Not always. Sometimes. I mean, for instance, one method of link building that we do for our clients that have a little bit of brand equity established already is basically looking for unlinked brand mentions. In those instances, sometimes whether it's on, in a news outlet or something else, when their company or the brand or one of their products is mentioned but not linked, it becomes relatively easier to get links on those sites because the webmaster or the authors of the post are already familiar with the company, etc. Oftentimes, those links are easier to get from a link building perspective, but not necessarily of lower value. Now, the difficulty there is there already has to be journalists and bloggers, et cetera, talking about your brand, and that can be difficult for a newer business or a small mom and pop shop to get to that point. So it's not always true that the harder links are the better links, but often that is true.
Although those links are hard to get because first you have to have the publicity.
Exactly.
Yeah, easy for us once we can step in and it's already there. There's the unlinked mention technique, which is a little different than like a brand mention, right? Do you want to go on? You're kind of the expert of unlinked mentions lately. You've been a pioneer.
Well, there's ways that you can do, go for unlinked mentions, not just looking for your specific brand mentions, but you might have a piece of content and you're looking for mentions, about whatever that topic of your content is. And so you search the web for those type of mentions, and then you outreach those people and be like, hey, I've created this, important resource or helpful resource on this subject that you've recently written about. This could make a good addition at the bottom of the page and further reading, or that it could be linked in this particular fashion. And so sometimes that can be a really effective strategy. But there again, you got to have the really good content in place already before that's going to be a good strategy. And so many of the strategies that we're talking about today, and we talk about every day here at Page One Power, in terms of link building strategies do rely on, having something of value, having some great content, having a great website that provides great user experience. If you don't have those things already in place, probably the value of the links that you're going to get isn't going to be as strong as it would be if you have a great website, provide a great user experience, etc.
Just in a similar vein to brand mentions, another, I wouldn't call them low-hanging fruit links, but maybe we kind of use the term quick wins sometimes just because they are a bit quicker, is image link building. Again, you have to have your images out there already, but you can do reverse image searching and find where your images are being used on the web, and simply, ask the webmaster, hey, could you credit me with this image, and get a link back.
Threaten them with lawsuits?
Not threaten them with lawsuits, but be cordial and just politely ask for a link, and most of the time they'll oblige.
Absolutely.
Another good one for especially older websites that I don't know that I'd call it low-hanging fruit, because that kind of sets the wrong connotation, the wrong expectation, but a good opportunity for, especially early in a campaign, to get good links, especially for older sites, is link reclamation. Just crawl through your website with Screaming Frog, or even go into Google Webmaster Tools and look at pages that you have on your site that are 404s now for whatever reason, especially if it's a new client with an older website who has used a variety of SEO companies and maybe they've missed some stuff. So you crawl through the site, you see which pages are 404s, and then you look to see if there are any links pointing at any of those pages worth saving. And just by doing a simple 301 to a relevant page, or even just rebuilding that page, you can reclaim great links that you already had pointed at your site but were not being used optimally because they were pointing at 404 pages.
Absolutely, Cory. All right, gentlemen, I say let's move on to our next question. Before we do, though, I just want to say again that we are taking questions throughout the webinar. So if something any of these men have said like spurs an idea in you, if you want to know more about how to find brand mentions on the web, or if you want to know more about the short-term wins of black hat link building or whatever, we're here to answer anything that you want to know. But we do have one more question that we got before the webinar that we want to get to. All right, so this is kind of an interesting one. What is the difference between hiring an SEO agency and a PR firm? If my goal is increased online conversions, would I be better served to hire an SEO agency with some PR experience, or a PR firm with some SEO experience? It's a really hotly debated question within the marketing community at large. Does anyone who wants to take this one first?
I'll take a stab at it. I mean, I think that you want to vet both an SEO agency or an agency that calls themselves a PR agency and find out where their specialty really lies. Mostly, I would say, if they're trying to specialize in all things public relations and everything to do with your brand, that maybe they're not the best, vendor for you. And if your goals are very specific in that, okay, I want to increase organic search traffic, then getting people that are specialists in that one realm is probably a wiser idea than trying to get somebody that is going to do your digital marketing and also handle your print media and handle traditional media and that kind of thing, which generally a PR agency will do. So I don't necessarily think one is better than the other, but you need to identify what your chief objectives are, and then go after people that specialize in converting those specific traffic generators, or whatever your specific goal is.
I completely agree with everything you said. I mean, really good PR is going to have positive SEO ramifications, but very few to zero PR firms are focused on SEO. So there's going to be plenty of missed opportunities. Now, some of the best link building clients we get are those that are doing PR and it's happening, and we can go out there and just harvest the missed opportunities. Like Cody was saying earlier, those brand mentions that are happening because of this great press, because of these relationships that are being built with high profile, media sites and that sort of thing. And we can come in and sweep up and just, there was a link opportunity that was missed, and there's another one, and it makes it so much easier when your brand has a positive reputation. Because when your brand has a negative reputation and you're trying to earn links on the web, it's very difficult. It's very, very difficult. So there's some people that are trying to argue that you should only do PR and just let the good SEO come. But I've seen firsthand plenty of times where the SEO opportunities were missed when you just did PR. And likewise, you can do SEO, and there may be some positive PR ramifications, and you need to be cognizant of that. And especially when both campaigns are running at the same time, it's really incredible. And that's the real synergy when PR and SEO are integrated together, and we're aware of one another's efforts, and we can work together towards the same end goal. That is a very powerful online campaign. But if the question is specifically, how can I increase online conversions most efficiently with an SEO agency or a PR firm? Most likely the SEO agency, because they're focusing specifically on the search realm, which is one umbrella, one facet underneath the umbrella of digital marketing. And then digital marketing, there's PR, and it's all this whole umbrella thing. There's a lot of overlap, but if you're focusing granularly on online conversions, you probably want an SEO agency.
Yeah, just to piggyback on that a little bit too, I think that you can, to put one versus the other, you really need to understand your own business and where you're at and what channel is most important to you. Do you already have assets that is being picked up by the media? Then maybe you do need a PR firm. Maybe that is a good step in the right direction to start with. But if you're just looking to improve your online conversions, you want more traffic and you want more conversions, you really need to look at what channel is most important to you, and you need to look at what assets you currently have and what's your current reputation online. There's just so many factors that go into that. So I think that to say one or the other is maybe a bit of a misnomer. I think that you really need to take a granular look at your own site, your own company, your own performance, and see where you're at and what applies best to you.
Yeah, I would just add that with the goal being increased online conversions, more traffic, more conversions, probably the biggest channel for that traffic is going to be search, and SEO agency, search engine optimization, probably going to be best suited for that.
One of the things about link building and some of the link building methods that we've been utilizing lately is that they do have, since it's so much of it is built on relationship building and blogger outreach and that kind of creating, helpful content that is shareable, etc. There's a lot of PR benefit in that as well. And so there's a lot of overlap between what we traditionally call PR and what we now call SEO or link building. They're separate things, but they're very related, complementary in some ways. I wouldn't recommend that any business invest all of their marketing efforts into one channel, say organic search, but you need to have multiple channels out there and multiple strategies and tactics. But I think that we all agree, and obviously we're a little biased here because we are digital marketing specialists, but I think that you do want a little bit more specialization if your ultimate goal is organic search traffic than maybe a PR company can give you, that's going to give you the broader picture.
You hit a really interesting point when you talked about our direct outreach to bloggers and just people on the internet. That is where I think a lot of the first discussions were sparked of the integration of SEO and PR, because that's traditionally a very PR-centered activity, to send this outreach, inform people of what's going on with your business and product, service, whatever. And that's where we bleed very much into PR with what we do day in, day out. But we're focusing on the SEO side of it. We're focusing on the benefits of getting these links alongside the relationships being built and the positive branding. And there is some PR happening there, like you said. But I think that's where it sort of began. And that's where people like Samuel Scott, he's a PR guy out there, but he's the only PR guy I've seen that's saying this kind of stuff, that, just do PR, don't do SEO. He has a great article called The Coming Integration of SEO and PR on Moz blog. I recommend reading it so much. And I agree with everything he's saying, except ignore the SEO bit. Do everything he's saying and focus on the SEO. Do both.
Well, I think that speaks to the changing evolution of what SEO means, certainly what link building means over time. And it once was that your real marketing things were in one corner of the office, and then your SEOs were in another corner of the office, and they were completely separate entities doing completely separate things. And over time, and this is certainly the way Google's moving in terms of what they're emphasizing and where their algorithm seems to be going, there's kind of been a merging of what is traditionally been called SEO and real marketing stuff, including PR and that kind of thing, and brand building and all those things. And I think link building is the way we do link building at least, is a good intersection of those two things colliding.
Well said, Cody. Well, I think we've pretty much covered it on that question. As I said, we're actually taking questions as you're listening in right now, and we've already gotten several, and we appreciate that they've been great questions so far. Now that we're about a half hour deep into the webinar, I'd actually like to start getting into some of the questions you want to know as you've been listening in. This first one comes from Shiza Kershid. I'm sorry if I butchered your name there. What are examples of bad links? Can a website be penalized for submitting their site to directories?
Depends.
Yeah. I think I think one of the core definitions of what a black hat link versus a white hat link is the black hat link is done through some method of automation, or it's far more scalable, so you can be building links by the thousands. I think that a lot of directory link building doesn't have a tremendous amount of value, but if you're going out and you're building them by hand, submitting various directories, it might not be the wisest use of your time, but I don't think that alone is going to get you penalized. From what we've seen, sites that get in trouble with the algorithm, whether it's Penguin or a manual link penalty, they're really scaling it up a lot. It's not a matter of having a handful of kind of shaky links. It's having hundreds and thousands and a significant portion of your overall backlink portfolio possessing kind of signals that these are unnatural links. And there's certain types of signals. Is the same anchor text used over and over and over again in an unnatural fashion? What's the link neighborhood on those sites? The other links that you're getting on, is it to all random type sites? It's a difficult question to answer, to say, this is a bad link and this is a good link. But to truly get yourself into algorithmic penalties, it's not going to be a matter of having a handful of quote unquote bad links. You're going to have them by the hundreds and the thousands.
Just specific to directory link building, for me, the most basic way to decide if a directory is worth getting a link on is your target audience going to be there?
Right.
Would they find value in this directory? Would they go to this directory and find your site and be pleased? If they're going to use that directory, you should be there.
The number of directories that exist out there that are actually providing user experience for a real actual audience is pretty small. There's a handful of kind of general directories that might still possess some SEO and user experience value. There may be a handful of niche or regional directories that are worthwhile. But probably if you're building your link building your link building strategy on the basis of directories, it's not going to be effective as you would want it to be, unless you're building them by the thousands again, and then you're putting yourself at risk.
Yeah, I agree with that. The question I would like to ask you guys that sort of stems off the first part of Shiza's question: what are examples of bad links? What are some questions you might want to ask yourself, as you're building a link? What are questions that you would ask yourself to determine? Okay, is this an unnatural link? Is this a natural link?
I think
will this ever send me qualified referral traffic?
That's the bottom
Will
line.
this appeal to the actual humans that my site ought to be in front of?
But not every link needs to actually
not at all
drive direct traffic to be a valuable link in the SEO space. But yes, any link that your target demographic is going to see and be compelled to click on is a great link.
Always.
But and any link that exists solely for the purpose of manipulating the search engines, or exists on a page or a domain that nobody is going to see and is there only for the search crawlers to see, well, that's a questionable link, I would say.
Yeah, I think too you need to always say, what are my motives with getting this link? Am I interested in being featured on this site? Do I think my target audience is here? Is this a link for a real human? What's the point of this link? And if your only answer is the only reason I built this link was for SEO value, then it's probably not a link that Google's going to want to count.
Well said. All right, let's move on to the next question we had submitted by someone that's listening in right now. And again, sorry if I butcher your name, but this next question is from Sarper Kokabielk. Sorry if I butchered that name. That is this question is, and I like this one a lot. We've actually written about this quite a bit on Linkarati. What is the best approach for building links on .edu and .gov sites?
Can jump in real quick. I mean, in my opinion, the best approach would be to create something that is so awesome that an edu or .gov site would want to link to it and promote that to those sites. I've seen it in the real world, I guess, but the internet, I guess if you could call that the real world. Real world examples of sites that have built a resource and probably reached out to the local university and said, hey, you know, this would fit right here on your site. Tell them where it would fit, make it easy for them to add it, and you get it added, and that's an edu link that is worthwhile.
Yeah, finding out what type of content the .gov pages you might be targeting and the .edu pages you might be targeting, finding out what kind of content they're already linking to, and that will help guide your content strategy. If you find that a certain type of content, a certain subject is really good at generating links from local government and institutions and local libraries and that kind of thing, then I would have that guide my content strategy and create helpful resources that could fit within the pages that are already exist and are already linking from a .gov or a .edu.
Yeah, and it doesn't even have to be content necessarily. Everyone knows about scholarship links right now, and it's pretty huge. But not even just scholarships. Just find a way to be valuable to that edu in some way. A lot of people, if you're a local company in some regard, you can offer employee discounts for the local college, or
student discounts is a big one.
Student discounts, yeah. There's just
where you list open positions that would be applicable to graduating students.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Just find a way to be valuable and then promote that value. It doesn't have to be direct content that you're trying to in some way promote to an edu. Just find other reasons the edu is linking out, see why they're doing it, and then follow that let that guide your strategy.
I take some issue with this question because I think it's a bit misguided in its intent. In that, this questioner, this person that asked this question, probably believes that .govs, .edus are inherently better than other links. And yes, they're old domains typically, and they've probably acquired a lot of link equity, and they seem very powerful because they're high page rank, domain authority, trust flow, etc. That's all true, but it's also more important that they're relevant to you. So I think that some of the best .edu link building strategies that I've seen anyhow is when you find some of the alumni pages that exist where alumni or professors that get their own kind of section of the edu for their own page, and maybe they have interest. Perhaps they're an astronomy professor or astrology professor, whatever. Not astrology, definitely astronomy. And actually, we have seen some professors with astrology pages for astrology clients, got some links, but that's a different story. But that's my point, is that they sometimes have more relevant pages, just these professors that are perhaps, within a field of study that's more relevant to your business and what you do. And those pages often do have lots of links to them and have good page authority, which is a good way to judge the value of that page. And I think those might be better links than just a scholarship link or a discount link that's really maybe has no relevance at all to your business.
No, so and just to sort of clarify what you're saying, talking about like .edu and .gov links not being any more inherently powerful. So basically what you're saying is that there really is like no conclusive proof that within the algorithm that they weigh, top level domains any better than other top level domains.
No. They're not they're not more valuable just because they're a
exactly.
.edu or .gov. There's typically they're really trusted sites.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
So more often than not, they are going to be trusted sites with a lot of link equity, but that's not simply because they're a top level domain.
Indeed.
Well, the other portion of that too is that they're really great gatekeepers. They don't link out spammy or randomly without cause, and so not only are these old
depends on the webmaster you deal with.
Well, let's just say across the whole gamut of the web, there are better gatekeepers than typical.
Yeah.
I'd agree with that. Yeah. All right. Well, I think we did a fine job with that question. Let's move on to the next one. This one is from Devin B. For smaller clients with little to no niche influence, how do you get your content in front of influencers who can drive a lot of traffic?
Well, I'd say that you probably don't need to start at the top. there's a really good article by Portent. Anything that Portent writes is brilliant, so go to their website and read their whole blog. But this one, it's called Make Friends with Allies, Not Rock Stars, right? And it's about finding people that have some influence, that have some connections, that are maybe just a level above you rather than 10 levels above you, and start to build relationships with those people. And as you start to, get the ball rolling with people that you can help, that can also help you, you will build more reputation and authority yourself and level up. And then you can start to interact with the next level of ally level 2 or whatever, That's the premise, but it's a really good article, and I'd recommend reading that. Building off that, it's just, I think it's more so about offering value than trying to get it.
Consistent.
From the very beginning is you keep giving value and try to make friends, and don't keep asking for favors right out the gate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the answer is, it's going to be a slow process. You're not going to go from unknown to well-known overnight. But I think that what Nick says, to start small, but start that engagement process and start identifying influencers that are within your realm, and not, maybe not the biggest influencer in your niche, but some smaller potatoes first, build some relationships there. Obviously, we recommend some sort of content strategy, so your website is offering value. There's different ways that you can get that. Content distribution is a huge portion of any content strategy. It doesn't do a whole lot of good to create really great content and just let it sit there for nobody to see it. But through the process of relationship building and targeting some niche influencers and participating in the discussions, not just on your own site, but on other people's sites, and responding to other people's content, that's a really good start. And then, if you are producing really good content and it's not getting any traffic, there's some whether it's like paid Facebook or paid search ads to draw some attention to your stumble upon, those kind of things that will give you some extra juice to your content that you're creating. Those are some ways that you can do that.
Let me see that question again. I think so. Devin specifically says, when for smaller clients with little to no niche influence. Okay, I thought he might have mentioned if perhaps you're in a niche where it's very small, so maybe there's just not even that many other people, and that is a problem too, and that's a different problem, which now that I brought it up, I guess I may as well address it. But so perhaps you sell a very obscure thing, and you have a very kind of smaller, maybe there's less people that are side vertical relevant to you and not direct competitors sort of thing. One thing that I've seen some businesses do really well, as I've started to get into classic car restoration, I needed to buy really obscure parts for a 46-year-old car. And so what I've found is that some of the Yahoo answers and questions where I've been searching, like, why is such and such a thing happening? And then I find the Yahoo question where someone's answering, oh, they have the same question as me. And CJ's Ponies Parts, which is a classic Mustang specific parts manufacturer, modern day, is going through and answering all the questions. They're finding what questions their target audience is asking and responding as the brand. And they're actually building like influence, like, oh, this is a reputable, authoritative brand that's giving really good answers all across the web. And they're in forums, and they're on Quora and Yahoo questions and answers and all this. And like, I saw that. I was like, this is a brilliant digital marketing strategy for a really obscure niche that's very small.
Just good community engagement,
Right.
which goes to like what,
Consistently providing value to your community. Just be out there, engage, and solve people's problems.
To loop back around to the original question too, we've done this quite a bit at Linkarati, and the reality is you just have to go out and engage and interact with people, and people are just people. It's really easy to look at these other big niche influencers and think, oh my gosh, these people aren't going to want to talk to me because I'm unauthoritative, or I'm new, or they don't know who I am. They're not going to give me the time of day. But if you go out and engage with them meaningfully, they're just human too, and they'll talk back to you, and they'll be nice, and you kind of start that ball rolling. And then as you create content that's valuable, find a way to make it valuable to them. Think specifically as you create the content, why would so-and-so care about this piece of content? If you want that person to promote content for you, or if you want them to engage with your content in some way, you need to be able to directly answer the question, why will this person care? And if you have no answer, then they're just not going to care probably, especially if you're talking about niche influencers who tend to be busier than most people. So just make sure that you are thinking strategically before you even begin to create content or whatever marketing strategy you're using. Be able to answer the question, why will they care? And when you can answer that question, there you go. That's your whole promotion strategy. All you have to do is reach out to them, let them know whatever you're doing exists, and say, this is why you should care. It's that simple.
Yep, I agree with that.
Digital marketing's easy.
All right. Well, on that note, we have another question. But before I get into that next question, we've been getting some great questions throughout this webinar. If we don't get to your question, again, we will have someone from Page One Power get back to you, and hopefully he or she will be able to answer that question effectively for you. I also want to mention that this webinar is being sponsored by Page One Power, the parent company of Linkarati. Cody Cahill is the project manager for one of the Page One Power teams. Nick Chimonas is the product development manager at Page One Power. So we have two people from Page One Power here participating in this webinar today. But let's get into this next question from Adrienne McCullen. In SEO terms, is it detrimental to have identical posts on multiple social media accounts, even if they contain no links?
From an SEO perspective, to have this like where you automate your Facebook and your Twitter to post the same thing, I don't believe that has any negative SEO consequences for duplicate, social media posts. I think it's a poor social media strategy to just automate and duplicate your social media posts. That's not really engaging. That's not really offering a lot of value. That's just slapping a bunch of words up on a bunch of different, social platforms at the same time.
Just make the robot do it.
Right. So I don't think it has negative SEO benefits, but I don't think that it's the wisest social media strategy either.
Yeah, I don't see how it would have negative SEO benefits either, because Facebook's not being crawled, is not showing up in the index. Google Plus is okay. Twitter is only just being crawled as of late, and who cares if your tweet or your Google Plus is showing up in search? I mean, I don't know. I'd say what Cody said.
Yeah, I mean, the duplicate content issues are going to pop up if you've got multiple domains with the same content, or if your content is getting, or you're trying to spread around content all over the web, the exact same type of content through some sort of like manipulative guest post scheme or something like that. That's the kind of stuff you have to worry about from an SEO perspective.
Yeah, it's just not great social media practices.
Yeah.
But, I mean, even if you're posting the same content on different social media accounts, there's going to be different, formats that you want to do that in that's specific to each platform. But in terms of SEO, I don't see how that's going to have any impact.
Go ahead, Cody.
I was just going to say, I mean, I could see some advantage. There might be some ways that automating your social media to a certain extent could be beneficial. But again, if your social media strategy is just posting various, promotional materials and just promoting your own blog or your own products, it's not going to be very effective. You need to be out engaging. You need to be offering value to other people. You need to be following the 80-20 rule, which says that basically 80% of your posts on social media need to be offering value to other people, sharing other people's content, and only 20% of your stuff are you really promoting your own stuff. And that's because, to build up those relationships, you need that, the value you get in that 20%, the 1 in 5 where you are promoting your own stuff, is going to be so much higher if you're spending, the other 80% of your time engaging with other people and helping them out.
I've noticed your answer has been almost entirely not about SEO, and it reminds me of a rant I once read on the internet, unbelievably enough.
What is the internet?
Ranting on the internet?
Well, not usually, but anyways, there's someone ranted about how any sentence that begins with "from an SEO perspective" should immediately be killed, because you should never think about something just from the SEO perspective. It should always be more holistic about what are the other ramifications of this SEO action, that sort of thing.
Or your users, yeah,
people,
real people that are your audience.
Yeah. So I just sort of expand on this question a little bit as we're talking about, because I think we can all agree that yes, that might not be a savvy social media campaign, but it's not really going to hinder your SEO efforts. How can social media complement link building?
Well, I think that, like Cody was saying earlier, engaging with people, and that can be a very good channel for getting your content found, because great content will never be successful if nobody sees it.
Yeah.
So that's the primary mechanism that I think.
Twitter, especially, social media in general, Twitter especially is a really effective mechanism for outreach. I'd say email is still the primary method that we use, but Twitter is really important. Way to potentially outreach to potential linking partners. Anytime you have a piece of content that you're trying to get distributed and you ultimately want to get links to, it's a great sign that if it's getting shared on social media, if it's getting tweeted and retweeted, and oftentimes, using social media to maybe prospect for potential linking partners, people that have shared the content already or have shared similar content. If they have their own websites, they could make good potential linking partners. And so when you're site finding, when you're prospecting for sites, there's uses for social media. We use social media a lot here to indirectly benefit our link building campaigns. There's not a whole lot that we do with social media that directly to build links, but it's important, relationship building tool.
Yeah, from a technical SEO standpoint, from a technical SEO perspective. But anyways, now that Google is crawling Twitter, there's been some tests done that show tweeting a URL can lead to faster indexation of that URL.
Yeah.
So there's some positive SEO benefit from doing that.
Fair enough. All right, well, we're running out of time a little bit, so I want to get into a question that's a little bit more, it's going to be more personal for all four of you. This one is courtesy of Sarah Randolph. What's your favorite part about link building? I'd like to hear responses from all of you. So, Cory, why don't we start with you? What's your favorite part about link building?
The challenge. I'm competitive by nature, and I just enjoy the hard work that is link building. I don't know, there's a lot that I could talk about within link building, what I really like about it. There is no formula for link building. There's no mathematical, this is what I do and then I get links. You have to be creative, you have to be strategic, you have to be analytical. It really takes a lot of different portions of the brain to go out and build links. You can't just sit there and you can do it by yourself, but you can also do it in teams, and I really enjoy building the relationships, going out and meeting new people, engaging. I mean, there's a zillion things I could talk about within link building, but at the end of the day, when I really sit and think about what do I enjoy most about link building, it's the challenge and the diversity and the way it makes me think day over day and the activities that I just get to do as I build links.
Didn't you write a blog post called "Why I Love Link Building"?
I didn't. That was
There was two of us. Yeah.
I'd say my answer would be very similar to everything that Cory just said, actually, but I will just defer to my blog post on Linkarati, Why I Love Link Building by Andrew Dennis. It's pretty cool.
This is a good one. Well, I'll jump up next. I love link building because it is always evolving and it's always changing. That's something that fascinates me about Google and how they're always evolving and changing, and link building along with it. So that's actually part of my main role within my director of product development job title, is that I'm constantly studying and looking and trying to find out what is being effective and seeing what tools are out there that other people are developing that might help us in our link building efforts, and integrating that into our business model and pushing our business model forward to not just say, here's how we've defined we do things and we're always going to do it that way. Like, my job is to continually push the envelope and to help us evolve as a company, help evolve our philosophies and processes and methodologies, and that's what I do here, and that's why I love my job.
Well, my favorite thing about link building, and this might not be so much about link building in general, but specifically how we do link building here at Page One Power. I'm sure there's other vendors out there that do it our same way, but my favorite thing about link building is the collaboration that goes into it amongst our teams, with our clients, kind of that brainstorming. Okay, like, how are we going to get links? What kind of content are we going to create? How do we start relationship building? That whole, setting up a foundation and a strategy and doing it with small teams of really intelligent individuals, every day is what makes, my job fun to come to work to.
That's awesome, Cody. Well, we are pretty much out of time. So I just want to say that we've answered some great questions. Thank you if you submitted a question today. It was really a lot of fun answering those questions. I can speak for all four of these gentlemen. I just want to say a couple things before we finally sign off here. All the questions that we answered today, I'd say covered at some length on Linkarati. We published several articles throughout the week answering the biggest questions about link building and going through best practices step by step on how you can be a better link builder, how you can get out there and engage with your community. You can also find a lot of these tips that we've talked about in a book that we produced called Link Building from Beginning to Launch. It's an ebook that can be found on the Page One Power website. Again, I want to thank you very much for listening in. I want to thank these four for answering these questions and participating. Cory Collins, the editor-in-chief of Linkarati, Andrew Dennis, a staff writer at Linkarati, Nick Chimonas, the director of product development and utility belt all over jack of all trades at Page One Power, and then project manager and birthday boy Cody Cahill. We saved 2 minutes to sing happy birthday to you, Cody. So.
Oh my God.
All right. Well, I'm Jesse Stoller. Thank you so much for listening, and have a great day, everybody.